All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something a little different.
Yeah, a little different.
We're going to take a close look at a listener review of the movie Kraven the Hunter.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, this one sounds like it had some potential, but maybe didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, from what I hear, it definitely seems like there were some missed opportunities.
For sure. So the listener who submitted this review mentioned that they were actually pretty intrigued by the initial idea.
Okay.
You know, the whole darker take on Kraven.
Makes sense. He's always been kind of brutal character.
Right, but then they said the film just ended up feeling like another cash grab.
Oh, like just trying to squeeze as much as they could out of the Spider-Man universe?
Exactly. They said it felt like a desperate attempt to mine Spider-Man's rogues gallery.
Ouch. Yeah, that doesn't sound promising.
Not really, and unfortunately it sounds like that feeling kind of stuck with them throughout the whole movie.
I see.
So let's talk about Aaron Taylor Johnson's performance as Kraven.
Yeah, what did they think of him?
Well, they did say that he seemed to be giving it his all.
Okay, so the effort was there.
Definitely, but they felt like the actual material he was given just didn't do him any favors.
So even with a good actor, it's hard to overcome a weak script.
Yeah, they felt like his portrayal of Sergei Kravinoff was weighed down by lifeless dialogue and an uninspired script.
So basically the writing was letting the performance down.
Exactly, and this issue kind of bleeds into the action sequences too, which is surprising because you'd think with a character like Kraven, the action would be top-notch.
Right, he's all about hunting and physicality.
Exactly, but the reviewer actually found it generic and over-reliant on CGI.
Real?
Yeah, and get this, they said the introduction scene was almost unintentionally funny.
Unintentionally funny? How so?
Well, apparently the action beats were just awkwardly executed and the tone felt really off.
So maybe the violence felt out of place or the characters' reactions to it weren't convincing.
I think it was more just like the whole execution wasn't working.
Okay, I got you.
And it wasn't just the lead character who fell flat.
Oh.
Yeah, the supporting characters like Russell Crowe as the father, Alessandro Nivola as Rhino, and Christopher Abbott as Foreigner, none of them really made an impact.
That's a shame. A good supporting cast can really elevate a movie.
For sure, but in this case, the reviewer said Crowe just hams it up, Rhino is hardly memorable, and Foreigner doesn't do much except deliver some pretty cliche dialogue.
Wow, so not just forgettable, but almost detrimental.
Pretty much, yeah, and that lack of strong supporting characters probably contributed to the problems with world building too.
Yeah, I can see how that would be an issue.
The reviewer said the whole world building felt disjointed, like it was awkwardly jumping between these intense superpowered conflicts and then these super serious family drama moments.
Almost like it couldn't decide what kind of movie it wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly, and that indecisiveness also seems to have affected the overall tone of the film.
Oh, that can be a real killer.
Right. The reviewer described the tone as being all over the place. Like it wanted to be this gritty, violent character study, but then also tried to lean into some comic book absurdity without having the charm to pull it off.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to strike. You can't just throw in some wacky stuff and expect it to work.
Exactly. And this tonal inconsistency is especially apparent in those action sequences we were talking about.
Right, because there's supposed to be these highlights. But
yeah, they said that even when the action was kind of stylish, it was still bogged down by stiff choreography and laughable CGI.
Yikes. So not just bad CGI, but laughable CGI.
Yeah, they specifically mentioned a scene where Kraven bites off a guy's nose and spits it out.
Okay, good.
And instead of being intense or shocking, it just came across as unintentionally silly.
Oof. Yeah, that's definitely not the reaction you want.
Definitely not. So yeah, overall, it's safe to say this reviewer was not a fan.
Yeah, sounds like it.
They concluded that Kraven the Hunter lacks the heart, coherence, and excitement that could have made it stand out.
So a pretty harsh assessment.
Yeah, they called it another forgettable entry in Sony's Spider-Man spin-off universe, and basically said it's not worth watching unless you're a die-hard fan.
Okay, so I guess the big takeaway here is that the film just struggled to find its footing.
Definitely. It seems like it was trying to do too many things at once and ended up not doing any of them particularly well.
Yeah, like it lacked a clear vision for the character, the story, the tone, the whole thing.
Exactly. So, thinking about everything we just discussed, what do you think are the absolute key ingredients that make a comic book adaptation truly successful?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right, like what can filmmakers do to avoid the pitfalls that Kraven the Hunter seems to have fallen into?
Well, I definitely think it starts with having a strong understanding of the source material.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you gotta know what makes the character tick.
Exactly. You got to know their motivations, their strengths, their weaknesses, and then you have to find a way to translate that to the screen in a way that feels authentic and engaging.
Right, and it can't just be about checking boxes like, oh, this character has to do this in the movie because they did it in the comics.
Exactly. It's got to be more organic than that.
Yeah, it's about capturing the essence of the character and the world they inhabit.
And then you need a strong script that can bring all of that to life.
Ah, yes, the all-important script.
The script that respects the source material, but also isn't afraid to take some creative risks.
Right. You got to find that balance between staying true to the comics and also making something that feels fresh and exciting for a wider audience.
Exactly. And then, of course, you need a talented director who can bring it all together.
Yeah, someone who can really understand the tone, the pacing, the visuals, all of that.
And who can work with the actors to bring out the best in their performances.
And who can also handle the action sequences.
Oh, yeah. Especially with a character like Kraven, the action has to be top-notch.
For sure. So basically, it takes a whole team of talented people working together to create a truly great comic book adaptation.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking.
It really is. But when it's done right, it can be so rewarding.
Absolutely. Some of the best movies out there are based on comic books.
For sure. So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into one listener's review of Kraven the Hunter.
Definitely a lot to think about.
And a lot to consider for future comic book adaptations.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.